Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning, champions. Have you ever asked yourself, man, you know what? I done found myself in a pickle here again. Here I am in a place that I had no intentions of being in. And I don't even understand how I got here. You feel like Lisa Fisher, you know? How did we get here? Nobody's supposed to be here. Have you ever asked yourself, man, how did I get here? This was never my intention. It seems like I just wandered into this place, and here I am right here now. And now I'm in a pickle trying to figure out how to get out of this thing. Has that ever happened to you? It certainly has happened to me before, and more times than I care to admit. So, in today's video, I'm going to show you all how to become extremely intentional. I'm going to show you how to make your attention, how to get your attention on what your intention is. Okay, so let's just go straight to the scriptures and talk about how to do this thing. All right. This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse number 1. And the Bible says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and I will watch to see what he shall say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. So this is Habakkuk, and Habakkuk is saying, listen, he said, I'm intentionally on this wall watching to see what's the next move I should make. You see, we wander into places quite often because we weren't alert. So here's the idea. The idea is that we want to become alert and not aloof. We want to do everything saying that this is the reason why I'm doing this, because I'm doing this on purpose because this is my purpose. Are you hearing what I'm saying? See, people who don't have a purpose, they don't do things on purpose. So what happens to a person is that they just fall into this and fall into that. Why? It's like fall into the gap. So they like just fall into the gap. Why? Why? Because I was never intentional with what it was I intended on doing. So this is why Habakkuk is like, he said, I need an intentional life. He said, I don't want to be, I want to go into the places that I desire. I want to see the things happen in my life that I desire. And he's like, and I want to know what God think about this. He says, so let me stand up on the wall and ask God, what should be my next move? And watch what God tells him. He says, and the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon the tables that he may run and read it. All right. So God's like, okay, that's a good question, Habakkuk. He says, so the first thing I want you to do is I want you to write down your intentions. All right. He said, write your vision are your intentions. That's all it is. Okay. So when it says write the vision, make it plain. So I had with me, I don't know why I started talking to y'all, and then I always leave a piece of paper. Hold on a second. Let me show you something. Now, some of you all, if you're like a student of mine, I emphasize this, and this is my sheet. I have a very simple life. Because simplicity makes you a lot of money. Okay. Now, the reason we've made millions of dollars over the last 2 or 3 years is because of the simplicity, the simple way that we do things, and because we're very intentional with what we do. And I want to show you today how to be intentional. I want to show you how you can use strategies that'll help you stop being so, people got ADD, so when they do something, it's like they just responding to something instead of doing something in advance because this is what they want to see happen. Okay, so I'm going to show you today how to have a life that's not dictated to you. I want to show you today how to have a life where everything that you're doing it for a purpose. And because you're doing it for a purpose, you do it purposefully. All right. And so you're not in a whole bunch of accident after another accident after another accident because you planned what was going to happen. Now, naturally, are things going to happen? Are distractions going to come? Yes. But the problem with most people is that their distractions are self-imposed because they never have any intention. So when you don't have any intention, everything that happens around you, everybody else's emergency, it becomes your urgency because you don't have your stuff planned in advance about what you're going to do. So that's what I want to help you with today. I want to help show you how you can have a planned out life. All right. And so the first thing God told Habakkuk, when Habakkuk said, I'm sitting on a wall, Lord, what do you want me to do? First thing God told him, he said, this is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse number 1 and 2. He says, this is what you do, Habakkuk. He says, write the vision and make it plain. Okay. He says, so what? He says, so they who read it, they can run. In other words, he's like, listen, I want you to have a real plain life, like right in front of you on paper, so that everything that you're getting ready to do, It's already planned out in advance. Now, if I change some of your plans, that's up to me because I'm God. If life comes in and interrupts you, that's life. Okay. He said, but don't you dare have a life and don't you dare have a daily a life that you go by where you don't have a daily strategic way how you're going to do things and doing things purposefully so that when when interruptions come and stuff, they won't be so devastating because they're going to come. But interruptions come and beat upon a house that doesn't have a foundation, and that house falls because of man to a man who built his house upon a rock. He said, and when the winds came and the floods descended and the winds blew, he said, and they beat upon that house. He said, it didn't destroy the house because the house was built upon a rock. He said, but I'm liking a foolish man to a man who built his house on the sand. He said, and when the floods came and the rains descended and they beat upon that house, it destroyed the house. Why? Because the house wasn't prepared. The house was acting like the person who builds the house on sand is an unintentional person. All right. Meaning that they just go with the ebb and the flow of what happens during the course of the day. So they're not never ahead of the game. So when something happens, it's devastating. It just wipes out the whole house because they were acting like, like life doesn't happen. But life does happen, and life is unpredictable sometimes. And that's okay. Okay. Because everything that you want to happen in your life, you just make sure that you have a game plan for it to happen and that you are intentional about your game plan, and then you got to let life just happen. Whatever happens, it happens. That's why the Bible says that the sleep of a laboring man is good, whether they eat much or whether they eat little. Why? Because that man has a game plan. So when he's talking to Habakkuk here, Habakkuk says, I'm on the wall, Lord, what you want me to do? He said, write the vision and make it plain. So every week on Sundays, and you all saw a video that I have on this, a whole video that I have on this training on this, but I'm just giving you some review of this because, I want you to do it. I don't want you just to read something and then just go ahead on about your business and live an unintentional life where you just getting blown about with every wind of doctrine and life is beating you up. I don't want life to beat you up. Okay. I want you to be prepared for life. So in order for you to be prepared for life, that means you have to have a game plan written out so that you can have some strategic ways of doing things. And then you can do what? Because listen, your vision, it creates your envision. All right. Did you hear what I said? Your vision, it creates your end. You look at your paper. All right. I have several things on here to get accomplished this week, about 25 or 26 things. I have several of them checked off, and I still have some that haven't been done this week. I started this on Sunday, um, so I can look forward. So when I wake up in the mornings and I write down my daily game plan, I can get it from off of this list. All right. So I have three areas on this list that are what my vision for myself. Do you have a vision for yourself? Because your vision, it creates your envision. What do you mean that? You can envision this and you can envision that, and you can see things in the future that you want to see happen because your vision, it creates your envision. Are you listening to me? What is your envision? It's the vision inside of you. It's what you see in your brain. It's what you see in your mind. It's what you see ahead of time before it happens. So the way to create what it is that you see ahead of time before it happens is that you write it down on paper. So you write it down on paper, and now you're looking at what your vision. And then your envision, it creates this vision that you're looking at on your paper, it creates your envision. And then the words that you have on your paper, they jump off the paper and they jump into your life. And then you see the things happen that you wrote down. So you say, Ricky, all the things that's happening to me, I don't know how I got here. All right, I'm telling you, like Lisa Fisher, how did we get here? Well, you got there if you wandered into a place that you don't want to be in. You got there because you don't have anything written down in terms of where you want to go. Okay. So when you have things written down saying, this is where I want to go, this is what I want to see get accomplished, then all those other things that end up being what happens to a person, they get nullified and they get negated because I already got a game plan. Why? Because I can't be in two places at the same time. So I can't find myself wandering into a place I don't want to be in, into no man's land, into the land of unaccomplishment, the land of unachievement, the land of stress, and a land of what? Pitifulness, the land of excuses, the land of feeling sorry for myself. I don't wander into that land. Why? Because I'm purposely in this land of purpose that I have written on my paper. These are the things that I said I was going to do. So if somebody else wants to come in and just interrupt my day or interrupt your day, they can't interrupt your day because you have all these things written out already, unless God tell you to do it. If God tell you to do it, it's okay. It's okay for God to interrupt you. That's all right. But the problem is that with people, and why people are constantly in a bad situation on a regular basis, is because they didn't have the stuff planned out that they were going to do. Now, you hear what I'm saying? I had one guy who said he was going to make a song for me. All right, so I said, okay, go ahead, make the song. So he makes the song, and I don't like it. So I told him I don't like that song. I don't like the way you did that. Okay, I don't like the music. I don't like it. It sounds country. All right, I said I don't sound like you. Sound like I'm some type of bang a bang a dang 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 ding dang dang dang. I'm like, I don't know what that's supposed to be played, but that's definitely not going on no album I'm making. All right, because I'm making a new album. So I'm like, I don't like the music, so redo it. So he got mad at me, and he was like, no, man, you pay me for the music I already did. I said I don't like your music, so I'm not going to pay you. Do some music that's pay worthy. Okay. And I have a schedule. So you got a certain amount of time to get this done, or I get somebody else. So he got mad at me. And he tried to impose his will, and he even talked crazy and started cussing and stuff and acting a fool. Well, I ain't in the streets no more. I come from the streets, you dig? I come from where you get a pumpkin head if you talk crazy. All right. But I don't have that attitude anymore. So what I do is I ignore people when they act like a fool and they act like an idiot. I just ignore them and be like, you did. You got to put you on the prayer list, because and don't make ain't no sense in me even having a conversation with you. So you already heard what I said. It is what it is. You can do what you want to do. All right. So that's because I'm intentional, though. Now, you hear what I'm saying? Stop it, kid. Debo. Are you intentional? See, if you're not intentional, then everybody else's they emergencies, they become your urgency because they see that you don't have a real game plan. They don't have a game plan. That's why they're in the trouble that they're in. I'm not talking about trouble that comes that you don't have no control over. I'm talking about trouble that comes because you're not planning ahead what you're going to do. See, people like that, they always calling you on the spur of the moment, telling you what they want. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want. Can you do this? And sometimes you don't even hear from a person for 2 or 3 years. All of a sudden they call you. Why? Because you live an intentional life, and they know it. So they know because you live an intentional life, you have resources. They know that you're resourceful. Why? Because you're always doing the same things over and over and over again. That's why I get mad at y'all when I talk to y'all and I say, you got ideas. Why aren't your ideas online so people can see them? And you start making excuses and telling me my brother, sister, aunt, uncle, and all this sort of thing. I say, you can make excuses or you can make money. All right. You can have a real life or you can have a fake life. All right. Because in excuses of it, that's a fake life. It's a life full of stress. It's a life about being behind all the time because it's an excuse life. And I don't like excuses. So when me and you get talking to each other, we're going to be like, if you was a student of mine and all that sort of thing, and we're having a conversation about something, you start giving me that stuff, I'm going to let you know you're not intentional. So because you're not intentional, you live up under a whole lot of unnecessary stress and you ain't got no money. Why? Because you make money intentionally. It's not happenstance. It's not luck. It's not like it just happens to happen. It's because you plan, but you wrote down on your paper something as simple as this. Something as simple as getting a sheet of paper every Sunday and writing down the major things that you want to do every Sunday. And then every day, right now, whether you did it or not. I mean, something that simple can make you millions and millions of dollars. That's how I became a multimillionaire. You can do the same thing with your life. You can be the simplest person in the world and just simply write down your vision. This is what I intend to do. All right. I got a team meeting on here. We had it. I had a YouTube training on here. We did. I said I was going to be with my accountant and give us some paperwork. We did. All right. I said I was going to review a funnel process with a team of mine, and we did it. All right. And I got stuff over here I didn't do. I said I was going to drink 4 waters a day. I haven't done that. So I got to get back on that. I said I was going to take these prostate tablets, 2 per day. I've been on top of that. There's some chewy things that's supposed to help you with your prostate. So I've been doing that. And these things called denim, you put them up under your tongue. I've been taking these things because they make your gums go down and stop the swelling in your mouth. And they can possibly heal up everything in your mouth without you even going to the dentist. It's called Pro Denim. I found out about it from Dr. Benjamin Copes because I saw Dr. Benjamin Copes, Dr. Benjamin Carson. I saw a commercial with him, and I know that he's a brilliant man. So I said, I'm going to try his stuff. So I ordered some months worth of it. So I take 2 of those per day. I've been good with that. All right. Apple cider vinegar. I said I was going to take 1 a day. I haven't been doing that. I got to get back on that and make sure I do. Then I said I was going to do 100 push-ups a day. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So I got to get back on top of that. But I do have a vision, my point. So I got a vision right here. It's plain what I said I'm going to do every week because there are things on here that are very important to do. But I forget about it if it's not written down here, and you will too. How many things were you supposed to do this week that just didn't get done? And how many things do you have written out this week that you said you was going to do? At least have the stuff written out. So at least you can look yourself in the eye and say, okay, I did half of what I said I was going to do. So this week, The reason I'm in the shape that I'm in this week is because I only got 50% of what I said I was going to get done. So because of that, I have that's not a passing grade. So because of that, that's why I have the results that I have. Are you listening to me? That's what you should. This is how you become. This is how you get your vision to become your end vision. Because when you write this down, it gets inside of you. And then when it gets inside of you, then nothing can distract you from doing it because it's inside. The only thing that can be distracted from you are things that's on the outside of you. Are you hearing what I'm saying? People can't distract you, and situations can't distract you from what's inside of you. The only thing that distracts you is what's outside of you. So that's why it's very important that you write a vision down and then it becomes your end vision. It becomes inside. So once it becomes inside, then it becomes undistractable because it's inside. Are you hearing me? The only thing that anything can distract people, negative things, just whatever. The only way that something can be distracted is it has to be on the outside, and that anything can happen to that. So that's why you have to write down what it is that you want to see happen if you want to see something happen. All right, because you write it down, you're looking at the paper, and you're like, wow, 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 and then you look up, and it happened in real life. See, it happened in, I should say, it happened in visual life and in manifestation life, because real life is what's happening on the inside of you. Excuse me. And then when we all see it, we just see manifested on the outside what was already going on the inside of you. Now, you hear what I'm saying? So it's on the inside. And when you strong on the inside, meaning that you have things that you've written down, and these things are ingrained in you because you're looking at it on the paper and you're saying, okay, this is the next thing that needs to be done. All right. And now you can actually go to it. Okay. So that's the second thing. So he said, write the vision. And he said, make it plain. He said that they may run who read it. Okay. Now, what does that mean? That means that the reason that some people are amazingly successful and really moving ahead, seemingly at the speed of light, while other people are stuck like Chuck in a pickup truck and can't put cheese on a waffle. The reason is because vision gives you speed. When you read, you pick up speed. I mean, what is that? You read what your vision is for yourself, all right? And because you're looking at it, it becomes clear. When things become clear, you can move faster. The reason that people can't move faster is because they're not clear about what to do. And when there is no clarity, then there's a lot of charity. Because when you're not clear about what you ought to do, the only way you can get ahead is you got to beg somebody. Why? Because you don't have the resources yourself. But we're in the internet era. And in the internet era, you're supposed to be writing down what it is that you want to do. Then you come online and you tell everybody about what your vision is. Some people will catch on to your vision and then they'll start buying your products. Why? Because all of us have products inside of us. Did you hear what I said? Every last one of us got products inside of us, potentially. All right. The only reason the products aren't being exercised is because we haven't written down what it is that we're going to do and then did what? Start executing it. It's just that simple. That's how you get intentional, and that's how you pay attention to what your intentions are. See, why should you have money? Why should you be successful if that's not even your intention? Are you hearing me? So when people say, well, Ricky, that's not my intention. I'm not trying to be rich. I'm not trying to have a lot of money. I'm not trying to have a lot of this. I'm not trying. Okay, so that means that your intention then is to be poor. He said, no, no, no. It's not my intention to be poor. It's just not my intention to be rich. I'm saying you are deceived. Why? Because there are two sides to every coin. So the opposite of being rich is being poor. The opposite of wealth is poverty. So to say something like, it's not my intention to be wealthy. I just want to have enough to get by. Well, see, what the problem with that is that that's building your house on some sinking sand because it's not enough ambition in that. Because that vision is not the vision of God. Because God does not deal with averageness. Are you listening to me? God does not deal with averageness. That's not the God of heaven and earth. That's not his attitude. He said, I know my plans towards you, or my expectation of you, or my intention towards you. All right. He says, thoughts of good and not evil, to give you an expected end. So what does God expect? He expects his children to behave and have the things that he has. All right. So how does God behave? He behaves bountifully. He behaves abundantly. And what does he have? He has the whole world in his hands. So he's like, you're my child, a citizen of my kingdom. So my expectation for you is to have high intentions and high hopes and high expectations. That's what God's, that's what his attitude is towards his people. That's his expectation of me and you. So when a person who is a child of God says that all I want is enough to get by, I don't want to be rich. I don't want to be wealthy. That's not important to me. Well, I'm telling you that that attitude is the reason why it's easy for you not to be able to write down what it is that you want and what your intentions are because of the lack of ambition. And to not have ambition is like not biblical. It's not, to not have ambition is not humility. To not have ambition is lazy. All right. And what it does is that it creates justifiable lazy behavior, and is prominent in a religious community. It's prominent in the so-called churches. It's prominent. That's why God's people, so many of God's people so broke. That's why. Because the idea is that, you know what? I'm not writing all this stuff down, because I don't need all of that. All of that's not necessary for me to be a happy person. Because we get happiness and how should I put this? We get happiness and duty mixed up. We think that it's okay to be happy and be broke and not be able to help our own families, not to even be able to help ourselves, and not be able to help the community. I don't know where we got that idea from, that it's okay. I'm like, it's not okay to be broke, brother. It's not okay to be broke, sister. It's an abomination. All right. It's not like God. Okay. It is not the spirit of God. The spirit of God is excellence. And the spirit of God is ambitious. The spirit of God has high expectations of you and high expectations of me. The spirit of God expects you to have way more than what you need for you personally, so you can help as many people as possible, especially your own family first, because charity, it starts at home and then it spreads abroad. But these ideas that we've been taught about having material things, these ideas that we've been taught about having plenty, are some country ideas, and they're not biblical. And they some damnable ideas, and they some abominable teachings because they're not of God. God doesn't teach that. God says, I came that you might have life, and that you might have it more abundantly. And he said, I'm a liken a wise man, a man who listens to me, because God is like, you wise if you listen to him. He's like, so I'm a liken a wise person to a person who built their house upon a firm foundation. In other words, they did it intentionally. They wasn't building just by happenstance and just hoping and wishing that good things are going to happen and trying to have some luck and praise the Lord and I'm looking for a miracle. And Jesus said, a wicked and an adulterous generation seeketh after a sign. In other words, people who are looking for miracles are lazy people. Why? Because the only way something's going to happen to them is going to have to be a miracle, because they're not putting in their own personal work to make sure that something happens. Am I saying that God doesn't work in miracles? Of course he does. Don't you want God to heal your daughter, heal your son, heal you, and it's going to take the power of God for it to happen? Of course we do. That's not what I'm teaching you. I'm teaching you the practicality of having written out tasks to do and intentionally having a week that's based on what your expectations are of yourself, and those expectations to line up with God's expectations so that you can have high results, because God has high expectations of you, and you will have high results if you get high expectations of you. In other words, if you do things intentionally. All right. So here's a couple of examples of what I'm talking about. My good friend Myron Golden. Um, I said, Myron, actually 2 years ago, I said, Myron, what are you going to do different this year than what you've been doing in the previous years? I asked him this 2 years ago. And he said, Brother Rick, this at the beginning, 2 years was 2024. So at the beginning of 2022, I asked my good friend in one of his training classes, I said, Myron, what are you going to do? Because I always want to know if somebody who's smarter than me, sharper than me, is ahead of where it is. I mean, already left places that I want to go to. I'm always inquiring because I'm intentional about learning. So I said, Myron, what are you going to be doing? He said, I'm going to really start blowing up YouTube. I said, okay. I said, it sounds great, man. He said, my intentions is I'm going to make a YouTube video at least once a week for the next 10 years. He said, that's my intentions. That's what I intend to do. I said, okay. I said, it sounds good. I said, so I'm gonna start going on on YouTube too, because I had never been live on YouTube in my life. I'd only been live on Facebook, and I'd been talking to people on Instagram, but I had never been live on YouTube in my life because I didn't understand how powerful YouTube is as a vehicle to take your lessons clear across the world. I didn't understand about the algorithms of YouTube. In that the algorithms on YouTube, they'll take your message and they'll put it right in front of the audience who desires to meet you. And I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that. But I became aware of it. Why? Because this conversation that Myron and I had. So I'm like, okay, all right. So Myron's he only had 10,000 people watching him on YouTube in April of 2022. So he started doing a video. Then he realized so his intention was to do one video a week. But once he saw and he had been on YouTube since 2006, I believe, or seven, and he didn't even know that you can monetize yourself on YouTube. Why? Because his YouTube activity wasn't intentional. All right. He didn't understand that he's a millionaire making millions of dollars. But he didn't understand how much more money he can make and more importantly, how many more people he could serve and reach around the whole world if he became intentional about studying how YouTube works. So he became intentional. So I became intentional too. I started paying attention to it too. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna start going live on YouTube and start doing videos on YouTube and start making sure that I get that algorithm working on my behalf. And slowly but surely it's coming together. Why? So what's my point? My point is that once he said what he was going to do, I wrote down in my task to do. No, notice I'm not saying goals. All right. Because this is not goal setting that I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is actually doing things, actually doing the task that's written on your paper every week. Because your task, that's your vision. Until your task becomes your end vision. Because you do it so much until it's inside of you. Because you've written it, you're looking at it, you can see it, you can see it with your eyes, you can feel it in your heart, you can embrace it in your mind, and it becomes who you are. So you become a very intentional person because you are paying attention to your intention. So Myron went from doing that to now he has 600 what 44,000 subscribers to his YouTube channel, and he was able to earn. He was able to go from earning, he earned. I think he earned about $18 million, $13 million last year, something like that. He probably make about 20 million this year, perhaps something like that. So I went from earning $100,000 to making $6 million. All right, why? Intentionally. It was. It wasn't no guessing in it. It wasn't like happenstance. It wasn't like hoping and wishing. So if I don't see you on here, if videos is what you want to do, for example, if I don't see you on here, I know why. It'll be because you weren't intentional about it. So you didn't put your attention on it. So you didn't start writing it down. Okay. Listen, you can really help yourself out by just writing things down and then just go ahead on and do them. And then you'll just get better. All right. And the time will come when you'll be real good. And it won't be by mistake. It'll be because you're just really good. Because when you're really good, people cannot ignore you. When you're really good, you have to make money. Are you hearing me? You have no choice but to make money when you're really good. And you can be really good at whatever it is that, whatever your gifts are. You can be really good at it, but you're not going to be really good at it the first few minutes. You're not going to be really good at it the second, second, third, fourth, or fifth time. But you will be real good over time if you are what? Intentional. You're like, I'm doing this on purpose because I know that I need to practice. Okay. That's why when you start doing your videos, it doesn't matter about how many people watching you because the intention is not on how many people are watching you. The intention is on getting good. Did y'all get what I said? I said the intention is not on how many people are watching you. That's not important. What's important is that you get so good until people don't have no choice but to start watching you. Are you listening to what I'm saying? So you can make some money. All right. I'm just talking about videos for an example. Another good example of is Serena and Venus Williams, how their father was the watchman on the wall, like we're talking about in Habakkuk right here. And then he gave his daughters a vision, but he made it plain. He said, listen, he said, you all are going to be the top two tennis players in the world. He said, that's my vision and I can envision it. He said, so let's start getting to work and let me give you some tasks so that you can intentionally be better than the people that you're going to be and young ladies that you're going to be playing against. He said, so listen, he said, this is what we're going to do. He says, we're going to start hitting these tennis balls in in the rain. Okay. And you're going to be stronger than the people that you're playing against because they aren't as intentional as you are. All right. We're going to do things that they're not going to do. So we're going to hit these balls in the rain. So when we hit these balls in the rain, that's going to make you twice as strong as your counterparts. You're going to work out and you're going to have more stamina than the young ladies that you're fighting, that you're not fighting, but that you're competing with. You're going to have more stamina. So because of how intentional Richard was with his girls, it wasn't no mistake, a happenstance that they became the best two tennis players in the world, and in Serena's case, in the history of playing tennis. All right, the females. So what happened? So the money that they made, it was intentional too. Are you hearing? Listen, don't worry about the money that you're going to make. Don't worry about that. That's not what that's going to come. But it's going to come because you are so intentional about the task that you need to do. So you don't have control over the amount of money that's going to come in a day, but you do have influence over the amount of money that's going to come in a day. Meaning that the task that you perform in a day eventually is going to produce a whole lot of money if you get intentional with it. And the intention is not the immediate result of the activity, but the intention is the building up of the power, building up of the skill set that it is that you're doing. That's what your intention is. See, that's why people don't have skills. They don't have skills because they got the wrong intention. They doing something because they want to see exactly what's going to happen today. I'm like, well, that's not a way to measure your success. The way that you measure your success is how much better did you get today? All right. And if you get a little bit better every day with whatever it is that you're doing, then eventually you'll get paid a lot for it. Okay. But you cannot get paid a lot for something that you're not good at. So you'll never get good at it if the reason that you're doing it is so somebody can pay you today. You can't score a basket and then just run down the court talking about I just scored that basket and acknowledge me, validate me, because people who want to be validated, they don't make any money. Are you hearing me? You're gonna hear me say this over and over and over again as long as I'm alive. Validation is for people who don't want to earn any money. Validation means that you just make me feel good about what I just got through doing. It's very childish. It's for sensitive people. It's for people who, now listen, it's a difference between appreciating being acknowledged and being a person that suffers from the need for validation. See, needy people who need validation, they are not intentional people. Why? Because unless you praise them for what they do, they stop doing it. Why? Because their intentions weren't right. See, when your intentions are right, then you're doing this thing to get good. And you like, you might like it or you might not. All right. You're looking at your counterparts and you're saying, maybe they like it. Maybe they don't. Maybe they appreciate it. Maybe they don't. Maybe they want to get down. Maybe they don't. But that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it because you're building up your skill set. And you're like, I have to have skills in order to create the assets that produce money. So I know that. So I know if I'm ever have some money, I'm gonna have to be a skilled individual. So I'm not gonna let anything stop me, erode my skills or slow down my progress on developing my skills. So I'm gonna do it intentionally every day, despite no matter what's going on with anybody else, because the reason I'm doing this is because I gotta get good. So then that gotta get good, it gets inside of you. That's why no matter what happens, you don't stop, because it's like what's inside of me is I got to get good. This is why I'm doing this. So that's why when Richard was working with his girls and he had to deal with the thugs in the movie, I don't know if that part was a real thing about when you watch that King Richard movie with that where um, Will Smith is playing this gentleman, playing Richard Williams. And in a movie where these cats, where one cat, they jump on him and all that, and he think about shooting one of these cats. And then, he didn't kill him. But anyway, he grew up in Compton. So whatever the stories were, they were his stories because he had amazing distractions growing up in Compton, trying to teach two young ladies how to play tennis. In Compton, California, I'm talking about the show enough hood with the Bloods and the Crips and the helicopters flying around upstairs and all that sort of thing. And you got two young black girls out here playing tennis. Black people don't hardly even play no tennis. An amazing invasion of the norm and a breaking up of the status quo. But that's what happens when you're intentional. When you're intentional, you don't care about a status quo. Why? Because the reason that you're doing stuff, it ain't got nothing to do with nobody else think. So you're not in about that because your intentions are what? They're unintimidatable. Are you listening to me? But if you ain't got no intentions, you stop doing anything because you start for a little while, and as soon as somebody starts trying to come in and break up your party, you're like, oh man, why? Because you needed to be validated by them. So the beautiful thing about becoming good at things is that you start becoming really good. And the more you good, the more your self-esteem goes up. And the more your self-esteem goes up, the less you care about what other people say. And matter of fact, the more absurd it becomes what somebody says, and you're looking at your progress, and you're like, "But I'm on a scale. I've been working really hard at this thing. I'm moving my way up to being a 10 out of 10 on this thing, and I might be about a 7 or 8 right now because I ignored everybody while I was getting down because my intentions was to be the best that I could possibly be. So I'm shooting for a 10 out of 10. That's what I'm shooting for. So that's when that's your intentions. Then when you meet people and they're like, well, you need to come down from off of that high horse that you're on because you're an unreasonable person. You do that too much. You're, all the stuff that people say when they looking at you basically and they hating and they jealous. All right. Because why? Because they don't live an intentional life. And when people don't live an intentional life, they get jealous because of yours. Why? So they have a lot of snark comments and sarcasm and things of that nature. And then sometimes just straight up try to sabotage you. But that's okay. All right, because that's life. So get used to that. Get used to that. If you're doing anything, get used to the sabotage and all that player hating. It ain't nothing new. It just comes along the territory. It's the way it's been since the beginning of the time. It ain't gonna never change. All right. Look at the results though of intentionality. Here's Serena and Venus. Let's look at some of their stats. Serena had 23 Grand Slams. Venus had 7 Grand Slams. Serena earned $90 million in prize money, and Venus earned 42 million. Serena has a $350 million net worth. All right, and I'm sorry, a $260 million net worth, and Venus has a $95 million net worth, and Serena has earned over $350 million. I mean, that's some serious stick to itness. You hear what I'm saying? But it happened because of King Richard and their mother instilling in them when they were younger how to have what, like some real laser beam focus and to make sure that your intention is just to be the best. And that way you'll fight and you practice and you're fighting when you don't feel like it, when your body's hurting, when you're aching, when things aren't, going your way, when you're dealing with personal issues and all the things that happen to us as human beings. It's like, okay, but I'm intentional. So because I'm intentional, addicted to good habits. All right. That's the last part I want to leave you with. Intentionality will addict you because you'll become addicted to the things that you got written down in your vision. And you'll get so used to doing them until now, the way it used to be hard to do it, it'll become hard not to do it. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So it becomes hard not to make money, just like it used to be hard to make money because you stuck with it and you stuck with it so long, intentionally, on purpose, deliberately, and now it's just a way of your life. So I want to encourage you all today as you go out today, as you go out to the rest of your weekend here, as you go through the rest of your year here in 2024, that everything that you do, that it'll be pre-planned intentionally, and then if God interrupts it, it's okay. I mean, it has to be okay. Why? Because he's God. He can do what he wants to do. He can interrupt us anytime you get ready. But just make sure that it's just God interrupting you and not you not having a game plan. All right? Are you hearing what I'm saying? Are you listening to me? Don't the Bible says that the man or the woman who builds their house upon a rock, what is a rock? Intentionality. All right? What is a rock? Rock means that I'm doing this on purpose. What does a rock mean? It means that I'm not stopping just because you're talking about me. I'm not stopping. You got some sarcasm. I'm not stopping just because life is happening. I'm not stopping just because I don't feel good. You go to work whether you feel good. You go to work whether you don't feel good. I speak a lot of times. Y'all see me, my nose is running, and it's not no pretty sight. You see me sometimes just like now. You're looking like, man, I watch more of that man's videos. If he wasn't wiping his face all the time. Well, I have to deal with my reality. Okay. And my reality is that if I'm going to talk to you, I have to deal with all of this stuff to be going on in here. Until the Lord bless me and I do some stuff to get it better, I'm not going to stop working though. You say working, you call doing a video working for the kingdom. Okay. You say, Ricky, you don't get paid for doing those videos. Oh, yes, you do. Oh, yes, you do. You know why? Because people pay you with their time. And when you are intentional about doing what? Making sure that the people around you, that they get the best out of their time by being involved with you. Are you listening to what I'm saying? So a time customer is just as important as a customer that pays you money. So when you look at people and you're like, okay, the reason that I'm serving you intentionally is because you are a human being. And it's a pleasure to get to know you and a pleasure to be able to serve you. And that's all my intention is. Now, you may decide because of this relationship, you may decide that, you know what, I want to learn more about what it is that you do. This is how people view you. Okay. They're looking at you and they're saying, so, I can see that you're a very intentional person. And I can see that you really believe you. You see, when I'm listening to you talk, anybody, when they're listening to you talk, they can tell if you really believe yourself. Why? Because they can see that you're a very intentional person and that you're a very determined person. And that, I mean, you're really going to do it whether they agree with you or not. And when people see that, they're drawn towards you. They're like, you know what? I can see that you have a vision that's so deep until it's envisioned inside of you. So it appears to me that you see yourself going somewhere. And people love to get with somebody who sees themselves going somewhere because we all love to be attached to that. If I see you going somewhere, that's extremely attractive to me. If people see you going someplace, that's extremely attractive to your counterparts. And it's your responsibility as a great man of God, as a great woman of God, as a phenomenal entrepreneur, as an aspiring superstar. It's your job to be extremely intentional about what you do because it's your job to help other people. Other people, they're supposed to see you and they're supposed to see how determined you are, and it should rub off on them because you have a job as a leader. You have a job as a progenitor of your family, person to let everybody else know that I'm not a distracted individual. All right. I'm doing things to help this family so that we'll get out of our poverty. I'm doing things for the family so we'll stop making the moves that don't serve our family. I'm here to encourage our family to up our intensity level of doing things excellent, doing things excellently, and doing things without wavering and being really good because we're not going anywhere unless we're really good. God don't know us nothing. People don't know us nothing. And we're not going to sit around here complaining about our situation. We're going to become extremely good. Okay. If your family sits down and have that type of attitude and that type of meeting and say, you know what, we need to get better. We need to get better. What are your intentions? All right. Here are mine. What are your intentions? Okay. Okay. What's your game plan to get those intentions done? Here's mine. Okay. That's the last part of what we have to do. We start changing our habits because you're intentional, your family members are intentional, your colleagues are intentional, your business associates are intentional. And because you're so intentional, you start volunteering to check up on each other. In fact, you have meetings every week for the purpose of seeing how your intentional acts were carried out or not carried out so that you can discuss it together and say, this is what I said I was going to do. All right. Did you do it? Okay, you and your counterparts. You like, okay, this is what I said I was going to do. Okay, so did you do it? Did you do it, sister? Did you do it, brother? Yes, I did. Okay, great. How did it work out? Okay, it worked out like this. Okay, cool. All right, work on that some more. All right, that's good. That's moving the needle. All right. Okay, what did you not do? I did not do this. Why didn't you do it? I didn't do it because I was afraid. I didn't do it because I just forgot. You forgot, was it written down? Yeah, it was written down, but because I didn't really want to do it, I just kind of ignored it and I went on to the next thing. Okay, so we're going to tighten up on that next week, right? Okay, yes, we both agree to that. We're going to tighten up on that next week. This is how you get rich. You get rich because it's intentional. Okay, you sit down and you talk to your colleagues and you have conversations, accountability sessions. And in these accountability sessions, you are really measuring the things that you said you were going to do, whether or not they got done. Okay. This is how you run your companies. This is how you run your businesses. This is how you run your life. All right. And it's not because people are nosy, because it doesn't have anything to do with being nosy. Your friends and your colleagues and the people that you're doing business with and stuff, you're not meddling in one another's business. You're concerned about each other. All right. And because you're an intentional person, listen to me. This is the beauty of it. Once you become this way, once you do things on purpose for your purpose, once you become this way, then you get this burning desire inside of you to want to see everybody else around you win. Because once you start winning, you want to see everybody else win. I mean, once you start feeling good about your days, you want to see somebody else feel good about their days. And then it's like you just start towards your colleagues and letting them know you should try what I'm doing because it's really working for me, and I want to see this work for you too. And besides that, we're in business together. Besides that, we're in partnerships together. So that means that all of us got to be accountable because we are working together, and your progress and my progress is intertwined. And I can't get to where I'm really supposed to go at the pace that I'm supposed to get there when we are in partnership together and we're not keeping the same pace. Are you hearing what I'm saying? It's important that people keep the same pace. But the reason that you have companies where 20% of the people do 80% of the work is because those companies don't have a culture of accountability. They have a culture of, all right, the people at the top, y'all handling y'all business good. The people at the bottom, y'all don't really do what y'all supposed to do. We expect that because we expect 20% of the people to do 80% of the work. But we can break those cultures. Do y'all understand that? If you have a culture of people and everybody just sits down and you start doing things biblically, all right, because the Bible doesn't support that. It doesn't support this 20%, 80% stuff. That's the world's way of doing stuff. That's not the kingdom's way of doing things. In the kingdom, we don't behave like the world. In the kingdom, we like grandma. In the kingdom, grandma said every tub got to sit on its own bottom. And in the kingdom, we don't have that. We understand in the kingdom that God really, really blesses a certain type of attitude, that he really, really blesses a certain type of demeanor. That I mean, that he really gets behind the principles that he promotes. When God promotes a principle, he promotes a principle so that you can prosper from the principle that he promotes. And he expects you to prosper. He expects you to have plenty of money. He expects you to have plenty of influence. He expects you to be amazingly good at what you do. He expects you and your colleagues and your team, all of y'all together. He expects y'all to be working together and making and having amazing success. That's what God expects from us. All right. He expects it from you and he expects it from me. So when you see underachievement taking place, it's a lack of communication and it's a lack of accountability of what people having some real direction. So it takes so long for something to get done because you can't, if you don't write the vision and make it plain, then the people who read it, they can't run. And you can't win in this lifetime, in this life walking. You have to run to win because money desires speed. And it's the accelerated velocity of money that creates millionaires and multimillionaires and billionaires and kingdoms and dynasties. You don't have time to waste. So you can't be walking around doing stuff. All right. You have to run, but you can't run when you don't have direction. Are you hearing what I'm saying? It's hard in the dark. You're running and you start running into a whole lot of stuff. All right. And when you start running into a whole lot of stuff, you stop because your instincts come up and your survival instincts kick in. So now you done run and you done ran into this and you ran into that, hit your head on this and that. And now it's impossible to get that, to get back up and run at full steam ahead into another brick wall. Are you hearing what I'm saying? That's why you have to have everything written down so that you can have clarity in your mind about the next move that I'm getting ready to make. And then you can do that thing with power, fervor, intentionality, deliberate, purposefully, and really well too. Because it's easy to do things good when you can really, when you ain't got a whole lot of self-imposed roadblocks. All right. So that's the last thing I want to say. You said, Brother Ricky said the last thing he's going to say was three last things ago. This is legit. When you take your own roadblocks out the way, then you can really run fast because you're going to have enough roadblocks that you can put in the way. All right. Can I run that by you one more time? I say, when you take your own roadblocks out the way, you can really run fast. Why? Because the roadblocks that people put in your way, you can ignore them, but you can't ignore your own roadblocks. All right. Did you hear what I said? When you put your own roadblocks in the way, then you're going to stumble all over the place. Okay. But when other people try to put roadblocks in your way, you can ignore that. Why? Because that's the outside. That's not the inside. Inside roadblocks, we stumble over them all the time. Why? Because they're inside. And the biggest roadblock that we have when it comes down to intentionality is that our stuff is not written out. And that's a serious problem. Why? Because now we don't even know what to do. Okay. Now we got to feel our way around and we got to live this reactionary life because this is proactivity right here, what I'm teaching you. All right. I'm teaching you the idea of getting up and running and making it rain like a hurricane. All right. Now, I've got about a few minutes left. If you have something that you want to become intentional about, but up to this point, you have not been able to be intentional. It's like vague in your mind how you should proceed. I'm going to give you an opportunity to put your question in the chat. Excuse me. You can put it in the chat over here on YouTube and Facebook if you like to, or you can put it in the chat right here on Instagram. And I'm gonna give you a second before we go, and I'd like to help you. Okay, I'm gonna give you, you can ask me a question. I know $50,000 for no appointment. I'm just gonna ask you a question right now. I'm not gonna charge you any money. Okay, so if you got a question, I give you about 10 seconds or so for y'all to get it together. If you want to ask me something. So what is it that you are vague about right now, and you need some clarity on it? I'll answer your question. Is it something in your company? Is it something in your marriage? Is it something in your ministry? Is it something? What is it right now that you hesitate to do because you're not quite clear about what it is that you want to do? And if you'd be humble enough to ask that question right here, then everybody can get some help all over the world if it's something that's slowing down your progress. So is there anything slowing down your all's progress? And if not, I just pray you out. We just enjoy the rest of my day. But if you got something that's messing with your progress, and you put it in the chat, then I'll be glad to address that. All right. How don't how don't he take my church? Oh, how do you? Is that what you're asking, John? How do you take your church to the next level? John, when you say your church, are you a pastor of a church? Is that what you mean? Can you clarify your question? That you're a pastor of the church and you want to know how to take the church to the next level? Is that what you're asking me, John? If that's what you're asking me, make that plain so I can understand it. In the meantime, Sandra, what's the question? I need clarification on getting buyers. Okay, I'm assuming that you're talking about getting buyers for your getting buyers for real estate. Are you talking about? Come on, y'all. Make sure y'all questions are. Make sure the question is like real plain. Okay, so I can understand what you're asking me. Okay, so Sandra, I'm gonna come back to you. Um, Make sure. Let me know if you're talking about real estate. A buyer for what? Okay, talking about. Okay, John, you said okay. You said that you are a pastor of a church. Okay, all right. So if you want to take your church to the next level, John, what I would do is I would get my church members to all pick at least one person that they would partner with, that they would become accountable to, so they can all become more intentional about whatever your game plan is. So that's just one move that I would make, Brother John. I would say, listen, here's the overall game plan of what we intend to do. This is our mid, and I would break my game plan down into every quarter too. I would let the church know that our first quarter, the game plan was. In the second quarter, this is our game plan. Because organizations, they need to have adjustments on a regular basis. So, because what was working in the first quarter, it may need some improvement in the second quarter. And if what was working in the first quarter needs to be the theme for the second quarter, then that's okay. But if you really want everybody, excuse me, if you really want everybody to be on the same page, Brother John, then the easiest way to get people on the same is to make sure that you give everybody some tasks to do. And then within that task, they can report to at least one person the progress of that task during the course of the week. And then you can have a meeting, perhaps at least once a month, come in and they can share for the people who want to do that. They can come in and they can share what task they said they was going to do and how they got it done. But they would have already talked to each other at least once a week. So it won't be such a foreign thing to them when they come in collectively. So get everybody to start getting involved with each other and then come in collectively. And then you have a collective report of what people were doing together. Hopefully that'll help you, Brother John. Does that make sense? Let's say it's over the phone prayer line. Yeah, you still do the same thing, John. You still do the same thing. It doesn't matter whether it's a virtual church or whether it's in person. You can do the same thing. And then just a lot of times, but don't come in and give their cumulative report based on their accountability reports that they were giving each other. So hopefully that helped you. Okay. All right. Let me see here. So Sandra, what's your question was about real estate, was it? Okay, real estate. So you're trying to get buyers for real estate? Okay. So Sandra, you need to send me a message so I can give you a software, because they don't like you to software is on YouTube and everything. But go to info@stellawealthmanagement.com. Just send me a message and I give you a software that you can use. I'm doing a class, it's on 29th of this month, I think. Starting a 6-week course on real estate on the 29th of this month. Anybody that's interested in coming to our real estate class, just go to info@stellawealthmanagement.com and ask for an invitation for the link to be able to sign up for that class. So info@stellawealthmanagement.com. Okay. So because that's so I would use that uh, software, Sandra. But when I use that software and you go on it, the way that I would get some buyers is that when I show you the software and you go on there, go to the list that says cash buyers. And you say, why would I do that? Because when you go to the list of cash buyers, excuse me, when you go to this list that says cash buyers, it has these people have paid cash for their properties. Very few people talk to these people because they think because they pay cash for their properties that they already have all the property that they want and that they don't want to sell their properties. So I would go to the cash buyers who have already paid for some properties and perhaps will want to pay for some more. That would be part of the people on that list that I would talk to. And then I would talk to the probate people on the list. I would talk to the foreclosure people on the list. I would talk to everybody that's on that list, the list of everybody that has properties in the foreclosure department and the pre-foreclosure department and the probate department and cash buyers, all on this list on the software that I'm talking about. So let's talk about that, and I'll have I'll just send it to you, offline. But in my real estate class that we're doing at the end of the month, for 6 weeks, I show people how we bought property clear across the world, clear across the United States, and how I found all these people that nobody knew were selling the property, and found all these buyers that nobody knew somebody wanted to buy. So that's one thing I would do, Sandra. Second thing I would do is that once you locate these properties that people want to sell on this list, then I would go to realtors.com because you're going to have a lot of properties that people don't know are for sale. So I would go to realtors.com, and on realtors.com, I would I would hire a VA, have them to send a message to everybody on realtors.com in that area, all those realtors. I would have them to send them a message because it has all of their emails on realtors.com because they have investors who want to buy properties. But instead of you wasting time calling all these realtors, I would not do that. I would just send them all a message at the same time about the property and make them call you. And that way, every time you're talking to a potential buyer, they solicited you. You didn't even solicit them. So that's how you become the head and not the tail, and lender not the borrower, above and not beneath. So hopefully that answers your question, Queen Sandra, and that'll help you. Okay. All right. All right. Brother Lynch. Hey, tell mama I said hi, brother. Thanks for this opportunity. Who do you use? I'm sorry, brother. You moved up a little bit. Who do you use to print your books? Okay. 48-hour books is who I use to print my books. 48hourbooks.com. They get your stuff done in 48 hours. And they should and everything. So I don't use Amazon for my books because I keep all the money. Whenever somebody buys my book, Amazon ain't get none of my money, because I'm like, hey, the people who buy my book is because they probably was watching me training them on something. So they are really intense listeners, and I'd rather have a lot of intense people around me. Should I put it this way? I'd rather have fewer intense people around me than a whole bunch of people who we can't really relate to each other, and they're just reading the book just for the sake of it. So I only have 6,000 subscribers on YouTube, but I earned over $6 million over the last couple of years because my relationships are intense. I don't need a whole lot of relationships. All right. And you don't either. So you got people. I was listening to one brother in one of Myron's classes, brother Dr. Lynch, who was getting 1 million views on his videos regularly. And a young man, he couldn't even hire a staff to edit his views. I'm like, getting millions of views don't mean nothing if ain't nobody paying, if you ain't making no money. All right. It's just a whole bunch of socializing. And you should feel good about yourself. You should need to, social media should be for you to socialize. Social media should be for you to get rich. Okay. You should be using social media to find out who's doing what, and let's do some business. Now we can socialize after we make some money. Other than that, you ain't got time to be doing a whole lot of socializing with people. You're going to be broke. You're going to be poor. All right. So that's what I would do, Dr. Lynch. 48 hours, 48-hour books, 48hourbooks.com. Okay. All right. There's some people asked a question up earlier. Let me scroll back up so I make sure I don't miss anybody. All right. All right, Keisha. Hello. Do you also teach about trading stocks? No, I do not. Keisha, I do not teach about trading stocks. But I do believe that you should own some stock, because when you own some stock, you literally own a company. Everybody that you spend money with, Keisha, I would buy their stock. If you spend some money with them, I'd be like, you know what? So bad about going over here and paying $5 for this Louis Vuitton because I got some dividends, I got some capital gains, and I got some growth from being invested in them. So that's if you're gonna spend a lot of money with somebody, then you should be making some money off of it. That's what I think. I think that all money that goes out should come back in. That's how I believe that. That's why I believe that everybody should have like a consortium of people that you do business with, and it's just let them know we all doing business together. I'm not going to be doing business with you if you ain't doing business with me. All right, I'm just telling you. All right, that's the way it. All of it's just common sense. Everybody else practice it, and every like race of people practice that except black folk. All right, we're the only people in the world just give our money to anybody, and don't demand that they do some business back with us. And everybody knows that too, so they exploit us clear across the world. We spend trillions of dollars clear across the world, and everybody else knows that they like these people have no allegiance to one another. They just don't care. I mean, they're like financially naive, you know. So I would buy. So the idea of buying some stock and getting paid, I mean, like getting a dividend, I would invest in the companies that I buy stuff from, and I would just practice that principle. Period. From doing business with people who do business with me. All right, that's my suggestion to you, dear, because I do not sell. I do not teach people how to buy and sell stock. Okay. Um, let's see here. I'm trying to, okay, vision to reality. I'm trying to keep up with God's doing. I seem to have come to the place of running with the horses. So things are coming from Him fast, things to do. How do I maintain what He has given me? And all right, you left me hanging, dear. I didn't get the end of your question. So let me try to answer it as best I can. Let me read it again. I am trying to keep up with God, what God is doing. So that's good. Sounds like you have an exciting time in your life. I seem to have come to the place of running with the horses. Okay, sounds like things are moving rapidly. So things are coming from Him fast. Okay, that's good. So things to do. How do I maintain what He has given me? All right. So it sounds like sounds like what you're asking me is that how do you not get distracted by the multitude of things that's coming your way? That's what it sounds like you're saying. Sister vision to reality. That's what it sounds like you're saying. So the way to not to get distracted by having so many good things happening at one time is simply start saying no to what's good and just say yes to what's great. See, we get to a point in our life when you start picking up momentum and you start doing things right and you start staying focused long enough until you start getting solicited by people and you start getting ideas in front of you on a regular basis. And so you have to learn how to say no to some things. And then secondly, dear, is make sure that you start delegating what you're not supposed to be doing. Okay. So that way you won't get overwhelmed with what's going on. Don't be the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. Be a delegator and be intentional about that. All right. Be like, you know what? As Peter Drucker said, there's nothing more. He ran Merrill Lynch for years. And he said there's nothing more fruitless than doing something real good that you shouldn't be doing anyway. So the delegation piece is very important in entrepreneurship. And it's probably the one biggest difference between entrepreneurs and employee mindset people. So employee mindset people will not delegate. They try to do it all themselves. For example, the young man I was alluding to earlier, who had several $1 million views of his videos, and he was trying to start selling products, but he couldn't sell the products because he was so busy editing his own videos. It sounds so. I was just shocked when I heard it because I'm like, this young man has to be an intelligent young man to be making videos that people where he's getting millions of views on his videos. I'm saying he has to be an intelligent fellow. So I was a little surprised when he said that he couldn't afford, just him and his wife were editing his videos. I'm like, first of all, I can't afford somebody, and all of that is not realistic. Okay, because we can all afford. We do whatever we want to do. All right, all things are possible. All things are possible. There's no such thing as you can't do something. That's just something that we make up in our brain to justify the activity that we're currently doing. All right. So my sister, start delegating now. Now that you have people coming in, and start saying no to some people, and don't let their emergencies become your urgencies, because you don't want to be extremely active. You want to be extremely productive. Excuse me. And there's a big difference between being productive and being active. All right. So don't go for that because being active is validation. Excuse me. Being productive is revelation. You hear me talking about that a lot. Being active, my sister, it makes you feel good, but it doesn't make money. All right. Because you feel validated because, I got a lot of people in my life now. A lot of people want to come after me. A lot of people, want to be around me. I'm feeling good about myself. But listen, my sister, you don't need people to make you feel good. Feel good about the fact that you just woke up this morning and you got a sound mind. and that you got a reasonable portion of your health and strength, and you got a chance to make it rain like a hurricane. And you don't need human beings to make you feel good, even though of course it feels good for people to acknowledge you. That's good, and it ought to be so. But when all these people start coming into your life, make sure that you already got written out your agenda for the week, just like this. Make sure that your agenda is already written out. Once your agenda is written out, don't detour to the right or to the left from that agenda because people start showing up. Make them wait. Okay. Tell them that I will get to you at the point of time. Don't give any people don't give people your phone number. Only give them your calendar and let them know if they want to get together with you. They have to get on your calendar at the required time because you're not going to stop doing what you're currently doing right now and start dealing with them and whatever's going on with them. They don't let people invade your momentum like that because you're picking up momentum, my sister, and that means that the only thing that can stymie that is you. Okay. And feel good about yourself. So if the person says, you know what, if you had listened to me right, if you had let me come at you today, we would have did this and we would have done that. Will you let them know I was doing okay before I met you? With no disrespect. If we don't ever talk to each other again, I'm still gonna be doing good. So if you want to try to use that manipulation, some leverage over me, then you're absolutely positively not a person that I want to be involved with. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Um, Queen Vision. Start delegating now that you're getting some momentum. Okay. All right. Brother John. Okay. All right. We got yours. Um, okay. Hopefully that helps, sister. All right. All right. Pamela. Okay. We want to buy a home without all the red tape and complications regarding down payments and requiring that we have lots of money in bank savings. In Chicago, they do a lot of gatekeeping with foreclosures. Is that what you're trying to say, Pam? All right. So if I'm hearing you correctly, dear, you're if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that you're trying to buy. You need to put in the thing with it. Are you trying to buy a house for you to move into, or are you trying to buy a house as an investment property? So put that back in the chat so I can understand your question. The question is as plain as possible for me, you all, so I can make sure I can answer it. So go back in, Pamela, and put in. Are you trying to buy a house for you? Or are you trying to buy an investment property? And then I'll help. Then I'll answer that question. All right. Creative tips. Let's see here. Brother Ricky, try CMOS. All right, thank you. All right. All right. All right. Trade and Travel, the Moving Average channel, and Jeremy Cash, Young CEO, all traders on YouTube. Okay. All right. Creative Tips was giving some tips for people that teach y'all with stocks. Okay. All right. All right. No more questions over there. Okay. So Ken, your question is who does your thumbnails? So I have a young man that works with me that does all my social media from Nigeria. His name is O, and he does my thumbnails. But I took him a thumbnail class. Okay, so um, the person that does your thumbnails, whoever does first of all, does everybody understand what Ken is asking me? Asking what a thumbnail is. A thumbnail is the picture on your video. Okay, the thumbnail is different from your title. Like the title of this video, the thumbnail of this video is intentionality. Attentionality to intentionality. That's my thumbnail. And your thumbnail, the whole point of your thumbnail is so that it grabs a person's attention and they'll wonder, what is this all about? So it should create curiosity, sometimes even confusion, contrast, but it should challenge a person to want to know what is the video all about. That's what your thumbnail is. And then the title to your video, it shows like the description of the thumbnail to intensify the intrigue of the person who want to watch your video. Okay, so that's who does it for me. Ken, but you can go to Fiverr. You can go to Fiverr, or you can go to Upworks.com, and you can hire a virtual assistant to do your thumbnails. But what I would do, but you need to make sure that they understand what the thumbnail should be. And if I was you, Ken, I would personally study what the thumbnail should be. And if I was you running a business, I would tell the person what I want the thumbnail to be. And just their job should be just to create it. I would not delegate that to the person because they don't have your imagination. Okay. And people put up all kind of boring stuff, dry stuff, and don't nobody watch your videos. All right. Listen, videos are too important. They make too much money to be lazy. The thumbnails, you create them yourself. And then you learn how to create a thumbnail. If you haven't been to class, come to class. That's part of what we teach when you come to our financial IQ challenge, y'all can come in and we can show you how to, because our challenge has shifted. We're still teaching people how to manage your money through trust, but I'm spending the majority of the time teaching y'all how to make money. All right, teaching y'all how we made all these millions of dollars and how you can do it too. And we made it, you can do it. Okay, and the people that's working with me, I got people who doubling, tripling, quadrupling their salaries online and what they was making before we met them because they're using the ideas that we have. So our next challenge is coming up Monday, by the way, myfinancialiqchallenge.com, and you all are invited to come there. All right. Hopefully that helps you, brother Ken. All right. All right. Let's see, who is this? Deborah. What steps should I take to purchase property? Just started LLC. Need funding. Have great area with good opportunities. Okay. So the simplest way to get funding, Deborah, is to get private investors who already love real estate, already want to loan some money out on real estate. And the reason that they will loan you money, Deborah, is because in real estate, the real estate itself is always the collateral. So that's the reason why they're loaning you some money, because you have a property that you got and you have this property up under contract, but you don't have the means of being able to sell it, move it, or fix it, or whatever. Well, the private investor, they don't want to be involved. All they want to do is just put up some money and just get some money back. So that's the way a private investor thinks. So, Deborah, what you want to do is you want to create in your mind what's called theory of mind. Theory of mind means that you trade places with your counterpart and you think from their perspective. So a person that loans money, one reason that I know so much about how private lenders lend is because I've gone to this thing called the Pitbull Conference a couple of times. And well, no, I attended it one time, the Pitbull Conference that had most of the major lenders from around the United States and from around the world there. And I sat in the conference and I got to meet all these people. And in fact, I ended up singing in the conference because I was sitting down, Deborah, I was sitting down at the table. It was at the Four Seasons Hotel in Austin, Texas. So I was sitting, let me get something to drink, y'all, because my throat is hurting. I thought I'd be done. Hold on a second. So Deborah, I was I was sitting down in a lobby at the Four Seasons Hotel at this conference where all these lenders were there, and their whole job is to come to figure out who could qualify for the money they want to lend. Because a lender, the way that they make money is that they loan money and they get interest on their money. So if they don't have anybody to loan money to, they don't make any money. So remember that when you start talking to people who are potential funders of what you're doing, think from their perspective. If you have a deal that they can loan some money against, where there's some equity in your deal, and that will protect them, then they frantic to loan some money because they can't find enough good deals to loan the money to. They got money just sitting idle. And rich people don't like their money sitting idle. Wealthy people don't like their money sitting idle. It disturbs a wealthy person to have money sitting idle. Wealthy people think totally different from poor people and middle class people. Middle class people stare at a statement and feel good about the fact that I got some money in an account, but the money is not making money. And it doesn't bother a middle class person. That's why middle class people are middle class, because it doesn't bother them that their money's not working. But that's not the way wealthy people think. The way the wealthy people think is they want to loan their money out because it has to be getting some interest. So they want to loan you the money. So first of all, understand that they want to loan you the money. They got money to loan you too. The question becomes, how do you package your deal so that they can clearly see that even if you didn't pay me back, if I had this property, that the property would pay me back. And the worst thing that could happen is the best thing that can happen. So that way you remove yourself out of the equation as a risk factor to the person, Deborah. So when you out and if you come to our real estate class, you can learn too about that the people quite often who are cash investors on a list, they also private lenders too, quite often. But nobody thought to ask them if they wanted to be part of a real estate deal because people don't have enough imagination. So innovation and imagination is what makes money. Okay, so you think about things differently from the way that the average person thinks. And that's how you separate yourself in your field from the other people that are in your field, because they don't have your brain width, they don't have your imagination. They're looking directly at something. They don't understand that there are more than one way. There's several ways to skin a cat. So that's what I would do, Deborah. I would look at it from that perspective, and then make sure that you got some property that's under contract. For that matter, we even loan money against properties ourselves. So that's part of the when people are part of our group. That is because we only got so much time to do things. So that's why when people are part of like our legacy group that we have, you can bring a deal if it makes sense. We just loan you the money. All right. Okay. So that's one thing, but you don't have to come working with us or anything. So it's not a solicitation. I'm just telling you that since you asked the question. All right. So hopefully it helps you. And the other question was to start an LLC. So you want some funding for your LLC. All right. So you want to send your LLC. I have a credit academy, Deborah, and you want to we have a free business scan for your LLC. So if you go to info at stellarwealthmanagement.com and request a free business scan, we'll send it to you. Okay, for free. We'll send you a business scan and it'll tell you everything that your LLC is supposed to do so that you can get business credit for your LLC, and it's free. We'll just give you a free business scan. Okay, so that's a good way for you to start because people are not going to loan you money at the beginning of your LLC because it doesn't have any credit. So they're not going to loan you money like that. You need to start building up your LLC's credit. But if you don't start now, you're going to have the same problem a year from now. So go through the business scan and it'll show you every single thing that it is that you're supposed to do. If you decide you want to do it, that associated with it, but the scan is free. Okay, so at least find out what you ought to be doing. That's info at stellarwealthmanagement.com. Just send it over there. Deborah, hopefully that answered your question. All right, okay. I'm getting tired, y'all. I need to go get something to eat. Anybody else got a question before I get out of here? All right. Anybody else? I don't want to leave nobody hanging. All right, let me make sure I don't miss anyone. Okay, looks like everybody's okay. Hey, Brother Chan, how you doing, Doc? Millionaire Barber, love you, man. Hopefully all's well, but you tell Mama I said hi. Sorry I missed y'all when I was in Nashville. Did I miss anybody's question? Is everybody okay? All right. Okay. Is everybody all right? Okay. Good. Okay. All right. Everybody good. All right. Okay. Everybody have a wonderful day. Wonderful Friday afternoon. It's been a plum pleasing pleasure as well as a privilege. You all are amazing human beings, amazing kings and queens. I'm so happy for the progress that you're making in your lives. And it's a blessing to be able to have anything to do with your improvement in life. I do have one announcement, and that's at 3 this afternoon. We're doing an emergency fundraiser. What time is it now? Hello. Okay. So at 3 p.m. this afternoon, we're doing an emergency fundraiser for our friends in Kenya. We have a young man here. His name is Bishop Derek Mwendo, and it's flooding, and there are terrible floods going on in Kenya as we speak. Terrible floods. People have been dishoused, and they don't even have anywhere to live. And Derek is an angel among men. And this young man, he already helps 100 children who are basically like homeless children that he teaches in a school, and so much so until he even has children that have to even live in his own house because they literally don't have anywhere to live. The parents drop them off because the parents don't have a way of being able to take care of their own kids. This is going on in Nairobi, Kenya. And if you have a heart and if you're interested in being able to bless them, then we're going to be having an emergency fundraiser at 3 p.m. And if for whatever reason you can't come back at 3 p.m., I'm going to give you Derek's email right now. It's Derek Malindo 424. I know it by heart because we've done so much business together. It's Derek Malindo 424 at gmail.com. All right. So that's the young man's name, Derek Malindo 424 at gmail.com. I'm going to put it here and I'll put it in the comments section here too. Derek Malindo 424 at gmail.com. Okay. So that's Derek's PayPal account. So if you all want to help Derek, you want to help these kids, then I encourage you to do so. So I met Derek about 3 years ago, and so we've been, he's just a wonderful person, and I'm just real concerned about his life, real concerned about what's going on. So at 3 p.m. we're going to have an emergency fundraiser, and all of you all just send some money to him and bless him and help him. You say, Brother Ricky, I don't know Derek, and you don't need to know Derek. You should just help people. You don't have to know the person personally to help them. You got kids, and you wouldn't want your kids to be 200 people inside of a school that was built for 50 people or something to come into, and you got 200 people crammed up in the place because they don't have anywhere to go because their places have been destroyed. There's a flood going on, and when you have a flood and a lot of hut houses and houses that don't even have roofs and stuff to them, I know it's hard to believe. You're like, man, we're in 2024, brother Ricky. Ain't nobody living like that. Hut houses and stuff. Ain't nobody living like. Well, people are living like that. They're living like that in Nairobi, Kenya, as we speak. And this, we're not making this up. I'm not telling you this just to pull on your heartstrings. I'm telling you what's really going on. And I believe it's 19 and 17. And it says that whosoever showeth pity upon the poor, the same lendeth unto the Lord, and the Lord gonna pay you back. I believe in that with all my heart. So I love Derek. I love you, brother. I love what you're doing. I love your attention to that you're intentional about feeding these kids and that you spend your whole life and your time and your energy on helping these kids. And I don't take it for granted. So this young man's email is DerekMwendo424 at gmail.com. Now, if you want a serious blessing on your life and you want to do something about it right now, just put done in the chat and I just bless you right now and say a special prayer for you. So if you want to help this young man, I'll give you about 60 seconds to do this, okay? If you want to help this young man and you want to help these children, then just put done in the chat that you did it. And I don't care what you send them whatever the Lord tell you to send them, okay? All right? You'll never see me on here talking about money unless it's for somebody else, all right? All right, Brother Ken, God bless you, my brother. Lord bless you. Lord, face shine upon you. Lord, give you great grace, great agility in your business, and tremendous mercy on your life. God bless you, brother. That's very kind of you. Queen Sandra, God bless you. Lord bless you. Bless your health. Bless you back to 100% good health. Bless your mind, your spirit, your business. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Mia, God bless you for touching these kids and for God touching your heart. And may the Lord return on you 100-fold your goodness and your tenderheartedness to these children. All right. So he doesn't have cash out there. All he has is that Derek Moendo 424 at gmail.com. That's his email. Normally I let y'all send me a cash app, but I don't know what happened. I was trading stocks on Cash App and some kind of way they just closed my Cash App account. I was like these old cheap busters. I can't believe how people just do stuff to you. So anyway, I don't have a Cash App. So if you don't have like PayPal and you don't want to do that, just send a request to us at info at Stellar Wealth Management. Send a request to us, and then we'll give you some kind of way of being able to help Derek. Okay? All right. So the serious business is going on over there. I mean, their homes have been overridden by their homes have been destroyed. I mean, it's bad. Just look it up. And there's flooding as we speak. I don't know why this thing is not coming down. Okay. Just look it up for yourselves. It's flooding in Kenya, in Nairobi, Kenya. And most of y'all listen to me right here. Most of y'all listen to me, probably 99% of you are Black. And you have roots that you come from. You come from Africa, okay? Most of us have never been to Africa. Most of us have never been able to pay homage to the people who came over to America in boats like sardines, stinking, odorous, using the bathroom in the boat, dogged, mistreated, shot, maimed, and treated like animals. Our folks, our grandparents and our great folks. And so to me, one of the reasons I love Derek so much is because when I think about the young man, I think about my grandpeople I don't know. I'm like, where did they come from? And how did they make it? And it's an amazing struggle. And here I am in 2024 walking around with nice, suits on and ties and clothes and living in a free country and, got way more than anything you could possibly need. So if that's you and you know that, and you know how good God been to you, and you want to help this young man, it's Derek Mwendo 424 at gmail.com. And if anybody else wants to help him, then I'm gonna go ahead on and pray for you. If not, we're gonna get out of here and I'm gonna bless you, okay? Because we're in the blessing business around here. That's what we get out to bed, to bless people. All right. And And if you want to bless this young man, then we want to bless you. Okay. All right. I know some of y'all might do it and don't want no recognition for it. That's cool. Because I know the Bible said don't let your left hand is doing. And we're not bragging. Okay. It's just that if you help somebody, then I just moved by that. And I want to bless you because I got a lot of blessing inside of me. And if we say something about your life, it's going to happen. Why? Because it happens to us. Because the word don't return void. All right. So I know some of y'all thinking about that, brother, and maybe want to help him later. So we'll be back here at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And that's all we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Derek. I have him on the screen and y'all get a chance to meet him. So tell your friends, say on a Friday afternoon, if y'all want to be a real blessing today, there's an emergency that's going on. And we need to stop what we're doing because I'm looking outside right here in Indianapolis. It's 75, 80 degrees. It ain't a hint of dissension in the air. It's beautiful. Ain't no trees bending. Ain't no houses flooded. My neighbors all walking around smiling and cheesing. Everybody looking good. But that's not what's going on in Nairobi, Kenya. In Nairobi, Kenya right now, homes have been over flooded and people have been displaced from out of their places. And they are packed up like sardines inside of Derek's school because it's a safe haven for somebody to go to. If that don't move you, I don't know what will. All right. So Derek Mwendo, 424 at gmail.com is this young man's email. And if I was you, I would go on PayPal right now while I'm thinking about it, and I would bless him, and I would bless those children. It's not just children; it's people. Period. That's being displaced. Not just kids, but it's people. Period. And if you've got a heart for that, then God bless you. All right. Other than that, let me pray for all y'all businesses today that you'll be an intentional person. Everybody bow your head. Lord, we thank you for allowing us to gather together on this beautiful Friday afternoon. And we thank you that we feel some breakthroughs coming through. And we're going to stop not writing down. We're going to write down what it is that we said we're going to do. We're going to be obedient to what you was teaching us today. So we're going to write down what you told us to do. We're going to write it out on Sundays so that all week long we have the fuel, the artillery for a dynamic week where we can really blow up. We ready to blow up. We tired of little money, little influence, little impact, having a little this and a little that's not your plan for us, and we know it. We accept the responsibility of living large because you're large and that's your expectation of us. So we're going to be more intentional. We're going to write down what it is that we said we're going to do. And then, Lord, we know that you and already gave us the power to do it. We don't have to ask you for that. So we already know we got the power because you already gave it to you. Already told us what your intentions are. We're just asking you for the discipline to write it down so that we can actually go do what it is you told us to do so that we can get to work and start seeing these companies blow up, these businesses blow up, these ministries blow up, and the different things that we are attached to. We don't want them to be mediocre. We don't want we want first class everything because you're first class. So we expect, that's our expectation, is what you expect. And we thank you for giving us first class expectations, but we've been falling short because we haven't been writing down what we said we was going to do. So we're going to change that. We're going to start some good habits, Lord, that'll overtake our bad habits. And so that we can be consistent in, Lord, and being able to reach everybody that you want us to reach. So bless Derek and the children in Kenya as we speak until we get back together here at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Bless them that they'll be able to hold on, Lord, because help is on the way. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless all of you. Have a wonderful day. Be blessed in the city and the field. I'll see some of y'all back here at 3 o'clock this afternoon. For the rest of you, have a beautiful day. And remember that stellar is a stellar does. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon. Until next time.